Welcome back to Prepare and Nourish. And today we're doing something a little different. Welcome to the Shared Table. This is episode 1 and I'm really glad you're here. This series is all about meals that are worth gathering around. Food that feels special yet actually very doable. Each month, I'll walk you through an easy real food menu from start to finish. The hosting feels approachable, not stressful. Just good food, a welcoming table, and the joy of sharing a meal with people you love. This month's menu is simple, hearty, and perfect on a cold winter day. Nothing complicated, just tasty, familiar food that's easy to put together and easy to share. We're making shredded beef chili in the slow cooker, serving it over baked potatoes with all of the toppings. And for dessert, I'm making an apple crisp with fresh milled flour. It's one of those desserts that feels special, but really couldn't be easier. One of the things that I like to do anytime we have company over is I like to prep as much as I can the day before, especially when we're having guests over on a Sunday after church. Try to knock out as much as I can the day before. For what that looks like for this time is I'm going to cook my beans. I have soaking in a bowl of water. And I like to make my own beans because I feel like they're, I think they taste better and they're more cost efficient, but also they have better digestibility when you soak them, and not a lot of canned beans actually do that extra step of soaking beans. So I like to soak them and then I'll cook them today. And so they'll be ready for the chili tomorrow. Another thing that I like to do is I will get as much prepped for the chili as I can today. And so what that means is I will dice the onions, dice the bell peppers. I will even measure out the seasonings if I have time, and I will set out all of the ingredients for the chili aside so that tomorrow morning all I have to do is sear the chuck roast, saute the onions and the bell peppers, and then dump all of that in the slow cooker and then set it and forget it. Originally, I wanted to serve chili with cornbread made with fresh milled flour. However, I am getting a late head start today, and so I don't think I'm going to have time to make cornbread. If I were to serve chili with cornbread, this would be the time to make cornbread, and then you could just reheat it tomorrow. But instead of cornbread, what I decided to do is we're going to serve chili with baked potatoes. It's an easy swap, and it's going to be just as delicious, and it is going to be very satisfying because it has like carby, starchy texture that cornbread would provide. So we're doing baked potatoes, and I won't worry about baked potatoes until tomorrow, and that'll be fine because that's very hands-off. That doesn't take a lot of time. Another thing that I like to do is set the table before. Put flowers in a vase. I'll set the place settings up. I'll put the plates and the bowls and the silverware. I'll get all of that set up so that way tomorrow I have one less thing for me to worry about. Let's get into it. I had these pinto beans soaking overnight, so the first thing I'm doing today is rinsing them well and getting them cooking. While those simmer away, I'll take advantage of the time and prep everything else needed for the chili. For the chili, I'm keeping the vegetables simple. 1 large red bell pepper, a yellow onion, and lots of garlic. Nothing fancy here, but just enough to add flavor and texture. I'm chopping all of this the day before on purpose because tomorrow morning I want things to feel calm, not hurried. When ingredients are already prepped, everything just flows so much better, and I'm much more likely to actually enjoy the process. So I'm just gonna dice the yellow onion and the red bell pepper and mince the garlic and keep that in the fridge until tomorrow. And that way it'll be so much easier to put everything together. The same goes for the seasonings. I'll measure out the chili powder, cumin, oregano, and smoked paprika and keep them together in a small container. These steps don't take long individually, but somehow they always eat up time when you don't have it, so I do them ahead whenever I can. If I have time, I'll also prep the toppings and wash the potatoes today. Baked potatoes need to be completely dry before they go into the oven if you want good skins, and so I like to scrub them early and let them air dry. It's one of those small details that really makes a difference. Trust me on this. For cheese, I'm serving 2 options tomorrow. I love this Kerrygold Dublinaire. It's sharp and flavorful, but I also include something milder for the kids. Freshly shredded cheese always tastes best. But if buying it pre-shredded helps you get dinner on the table, then that's a win too. Once the chili prep is done, I'll move on to dessert. I've been a little obsessed lately with milling my own flour. The flavor difference still surprises me every time. It's hard to believe flour can taste this good. For this apple crisp, I'm milling a 1-to-1 blend of hard white wheat with spelt and kamut. I'll add cinnamon and brown sugar. Sometimes I use coconut sugar if it's mostly for adults, but brown sugar is milder and more familiar. Then I cut in cold butter until everything looks crumbly, add the sprouted rolled oats, and gently mix it all together. As much as I love fresh milled flour, you can absolutely make this with all-purpose flour. Apple crisp is one of the most forgiving desserts out there. It is so flexible. Peeling the apples is completely optional. I had the time today, so I peeled them, but I've made plenty of crisps with the skins on. Slightly more texture, but still just as delicious. To the apples, I add a little maple syrup, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla, and a pinch of salt. After tossing everything together, I coat the apples with a few tablespoons of fresh milled flour, add the topping, and instead of baking it right away, I'll actually cover it and refrigerate it. That way, tomorrow when dinner, or in our case, the lunch is winding down, dessert goes straight into the oven, so it's warm, bubbly, and ready right when we want it. Next, I'll set the table. Nothing elaborate, but I do like fresh flowers because I feel like it really adds a special touch, and plus I just love fresh flowers any time of the year. Then I'll start working on the table setting with placemats, dinner plates, bowls, glassware, silverware, napkins. I try to set the table completely, but you can absolutely skip the step and use paper plates. I've done that many times, but today I happen to have the time and I actually enjoy setting the table, so I leaned into it. By now, the beans are done cooking, so I'll rinse them and set them aside for tomorrow. The last thing I'll prep today is the chuck roast. I'm trimming it and cutting it into smaller pieces. It doesn't seem like much, but tomorrow morning I'll be so grateful that this is done. Not just the cutting, but the cleanup too. Sometimes the cleanup can be a drag, especially when you're pressed for time. Now it's the next day, and it's time to start the chili. I'll heat some tallow or bacon grease in a large cast iron skillet and season the beef with salt and pepper. Once the pan is hot, the beef goes in. I'm just looking to brown it on all sides, not cook it through. This step adds so much flavor. Once it's seared, I'll take the beef out and add a little more fat to the pan. In go the onions and peppers that we prepared yesterday, and I'll cook that until softened. Then I'll add the minced garlic and cook it just until fragrant. You don't want to overcook the onion because it'll become bitter. I like to add the tomato paste here, but you can add it straight to the slow cooker if you prefer. Usually I freeze my tomato paste in small pucks, so I always like to kind of thaw it out first before I add it to the slow cooker. But then everything gets transferred in to the slow cooker. The vegetables, crushed tomatoes, some really good gelatinous broth, and the seasonings we prepped yesterday. I'll stir it all together and then nestle the beef into the pot. Cover the slow cooker and the chili cooks on low for about 8 to 9 hours or on high for 5 to 6 until the beef shreds easily. If I'm serving this after church, then I'll do it for high for 5 to 6 because I don't have the luxury of having 8 to 9 hours. But if I'm serving this for dinner, I go for the slow cook and go for the full 8 to 9 hours. A few hours in, I'll start on the baked potatoes. Since they were washed and dried yesterday, they're ready to go. So I'll poke a few holes, rub them with some oil, sprinkle with salt, and bake at 425 until tender. When I check the chili, I can tell it's a little thinner than I want, but that's an easy fix. Anytime soups or stews need thickening, I make a simple slurry with equal parts starch and water. You can use arrowroot starch or cornstarch. Stirred in, it thickens everything without changing the flavor. About an hour before serving, I add the cooked beans so they can warm through. I'll also pull out the beef and shred it into bite-sized pieces and remove any large bits of fat for a smoother texture. Then it all goes back into the pot to finish cooking. At this point, the chili is ready, the potatoes are baking, and it's time to finish setting things up. I'll start with drinks, usually sparkling mineral water and something simple like juice. Today it's strawberry lemonade made with a few forgotten frozen lemon slices from the freezer. Then I'll prep the toppings. This is always the fun part. Today we've got cilantro, stems and all, because I do believe that there is so much flavor and nutrition in the stems, and it's so sad that that's the part that actually gets discarded. But then I'll also chop up green onions, avocado, lime, and a fresh jalapeno. Sometimes I'll add fermented jalapenos or red onion, but it really just depends on what we have and what everyone likes. And don't forget to add those root ends of green onions to a small glass with water so that they will regrow. Of course, chili needs sour cream and cheese, ideally raw sour cream and raw cheddar, but today I'm using what I have, and that's okay too. I'll set out the tortilla chips, and now everything is ready. Once the potatoes come out of the oven, I let them rest for a few minutes, and while the oven is still hot, the apple crisp goes in. And since we're a tea drinking family, now is also a good time to steep loose leaf tea so it's ready for dessert. Because we've got lots of little hands today, I actually like to cut the potatoes in half lengthwise to make them easier to serve and easier to eat. And then it's time. We sit down, we eat, we talk. I serve the chili straight from the slow cooker at the table and then transfer some into a soup server so everyone can help themselves to seconds. This works really well for us. Dessert comes out right on time. Warm, bubbly, and perfect with vanilla ice cream, whipped cream, or a drizzle of caramel. Thank you for joining us for this very first episode of The Shared Table. I hope it's inspired you to open your home and feed your people well, with healthy, nourishing food and the kind of hospitality that brings everyone together. It doesn't have to be fancy or complicated as you saw here today. It just needs to work for your real life and make people feel welcome. If you'd like the full recipes shown today with exact measurements and all my tips, you'll find it on my website at prepareandnourish.com. And while you're there, you can explore other nourishing recipes from ferments to organ meats and quick real food dinners like this one. And if this is the kind of content that resonates with you, I'd love for you to subscribe here on YouTube so you don't miss future episodes of The Shared Table. You can also check out my digital cookbook, Dinner Decoded, where I share real food dinners built for busy families. Simple, nourishing meals that make everyday meals feel doable. The link to Dinner Decoded is in the caption. Eat well, be nourished, and I'll see you soon.